Welcome to Behind the Book. It's time now for Behind the Book, hosted by Tess Thompson and Karen McQuestion, two authors with a passion for books, no filters, and limitless curiosity. Join them now to find out the real story behind your favorite books and authors. And now, Behind the Book.
Welcome to another episode of Behind the Book. I'm here with my illustrious co-star, Karen McQuestion.
I'm now a co-star. I've been given a.
I like co-star. Yeah,
better than
I
co-host.
think that makes it sound really cool. Like, we're co-stars.
Okay, I'm going to be fine with it.
Yeah. Well, we have a treat today for, especially for our authored listeners. We have Heather Wheeler-Sadlemire on, and she runs On Top of That Marketing. And she talks a lot about just different strategies for marketing, and I thought it was excellent. I don't know how you
I thought it was
about
excellent, but now I'm horrified because I heard you say her name and I pronounced it incorrectly.
Oh, no, maybe I just did.
Sorry,
we'll get back to you dear listeners, on who's right. Well, speaking of funny things about names, when I first was introduced to her company, I don't know what it was, but my mind read it as On Top of the Hat Marketing.
That's because it was you must have seen like the email, her email address,
maybe.
and it's all runs together. And the word hat must have jumped out on top of that.
So, and I thought that for like a month. And then I was like, wait, that's not the name. I think I was even telling people that I was using, On Top of the Hat. Yeah, it's like, which makes no sense. But anyway.
You're trying to establish yourself as a serious author, and
right?
It's not really working. You know, one thing that came up during the interview was the fact that Heather and then her sister, who also does work for her, have been doing social media for authors, one of which is TikTok. And you had said something that I thought was really interesting, that being a little bit older than the TikTok audience, you weren't on top of the trends, but because of their age, they were.
Well, yeah, not just TikTok, but Instagram, everything that they do, that would be instinct for my girls, or like in 1916. But for me, I'm just like, wait, what? How does that work? Who is seeing this? So I just thought, I think that's a huge value add that they offer, just kind of knowing the trends and understanding current social media practices and all that.
Well, and you mentioned your daughters knowing it, like with my kids too. I think they just don't understand that they grew up with it. It's instinctual for them. I mean, it's like me, and now I'm going to really show my age. When my family first got a VCR player, I just couldn't believe that my parents couldn't grasp the concept of rewinding it and pausing it, and that some tapes were for recording and others were just view only. I mean, now I kind of get it,
Yeah.
The world has changed.
Definitely.
Greg will sometimes say it's not our world anymore, it's theirs.
It's so true. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Or if I'm like doing something on the computer and one of the girls is behind me, they'll go, "Oh, Mom, just give me the mouse." It's like, you're too slow.
I get that too. They seem so world weary as they say it.
Yeah, oh my God, what is wrong with you?
Do you know what else I've been really aware of lately is how words go out of vogue and I don't even realize it. Like I'll suddenly think, I haven't heard anyone use that expression in I don't even know how long, years, decades. Like, when did people stop saying that? I was mentioning to you, this wasn't really an expression I used, but I knew people who did. If you went out to lunch and it was two friends and you were each paying for your own, you would say it was Dutch treat. And you said you knew it just as going Dutch.
Yeah, I'd never heard the treat part, so I don't know if that's just a different part of the country, but we definitely said that, when I was a teenager, like, we go Dutch or whatever. So, yeah, but I'm particularly aware of it because I write historical fiction. Mm-hmm. So I have to make sure that it's not a word that's new since, whatever year the book's in. But also when I'm writing my contemporaries, most of the characters are much younger than I am. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, if I put, let's go Dutch, I'll think, I don't think young people say that anymore. So that's not going to work. I mean, it's just so, I've always been fascinated by that kind of the slang and how it goes in and out and everything.
Well, and it's not just that. The other day I was doing housework, which was kind of an unusual day, and we have hardwood floors in our bedroom. So instead of using the Swiffer, I knew that probably would be a lot of, do they call them dust bunnies still? I don't know, but I call them dust bunnies. There's a lot of stuff under the bed. And so I got a regular mop and I was rewarded with a lot of stuff. And I went outside and shook out the mop, and I realized I haven't seen anyone shake out a mop in like 30 years. I just imagine like my neighbors going, because we have a very young neighborhood, but going like, what is she doing? Has she not heard of a Swiffer or a vacuum cleaner? I'm like, yes, I have both, but I just opted for a different tool this time. And I'm doing things all the time that just like really speak to my age.
Yeah, I know. And you just become more and more aware of it too, I think, as the years go by. But anyway, well, we should probably let everybody listen to Heather's interview. It was really good. I hope people get some tips, and definitely, look her up if you're interested and need marketing help, because we could not recommend her more highly. Enjoy the show.
Today, we are thrilled to have Heather Wheeler Sadlemire with us. Heather is our marketing guru that we talk to whenever we need, the inside scoop and all the advice. Prior to launching On Top of That Marketing, Heather spent 15 plus years in the business executing everything from social media campaigns for local realtors to conceptualizing and strategizing the most successful beauty launch in QVC history with a national award-winning brand. With a degree in journalism, her passion is storytelling. She is committed to using her creative capabilities and helping businesses grow. She dislikes industry jargon and false promises. Heather founded On Top of That Marketing to offer a breath of fresh air to any business looking for outside-the-box marketing campaigns and kick-ass content. So welcome, Heather. We're so excited you're with us today.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Tell us a little more about your services, and I'm sure you individualize it for each of your clients. How do you go about that?
We do, yeah. So we are a full-service boutique digital marketing agency, and that's a fancy way of saying that we're a small team, but we provide customized services for each client based on their industry, their niche, because there's obviously not one all-size-fits-all marketing strategy. We work predominantly with authors. We do have some clients in beauty and health and wellness, but the majority of our clients are authors. We meet an author, we sit down with them on a discovery call, try to figure out, what their goals are in regards to either a book launch or, their back catalog, growing followers. And from there, we kind of personalize each person's strategy.
Well, I am one of your very happy clients. And so excited I love working with you guys. It's been wonderful for my stuff. But we know you have other kinds of clients, but as you said, a majority are authors. What drew you to the book industry?
Mm-hmm. So it was sort of by chance that a few years back when I first launched, somebody I knew in my network just had an author who was looking for a marketing partner. And as soon as she sent her my way, it kind of clicked in my head like, oh my God, of course, would be exactly what I need to do, because like growing up, I was the kid who spent my $3 on the Babysitter's Club book every single week. And I, read the library out of every chapter book they had. My degree is in journalism, and I briefly considered getting a degree in library science, but apparently that, is a whole thing with a master's degree and like a decade of experience. So I was like, okay, how can I kind of take what I'm good at and put it into my business? So once that referral came along, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's exactly what we're going to do now.
When you're you find your people and the thing that you want to do, it just feels right, I think.
It just clicked. It's just like a relationship, I think. It was like the first time in my career where I was like, yes, this is exactly right.
Love that.
Now, full disclosure, you do my newsletters, which I'm very excited about not doing them anymore and having someone do them and make them look great. And one of the things you said when we talked is just send me your logo and along with other things you wanted. And I was like, I have a logo? And
You do now.
apparently people need logos. Who knew? So Tess is laughing because she has a logo and a catchphrase. But I didn't. So how do you approach helping authors establish their unique brand? And is there something authors can do to help you figure that out?
Absolutely. I think, like with you, for instance, Karen, you were very receptive to me coming at you from the business point of view, saying these are the items we need to make you successful, to make sure that you have a cohesive look across every medium anyone can find you in. If they search Karen McQuestion, they're going to find the same thing. They're going to know exactly who you are and what you do. Many authors, and I think business owners in general, kind of confuse what they sell or the genre they write in with what their brand actually is. And those things are not interchangeable. For instance, you can write romance novels, but your brand isn't romance novels. Your brand is Tess Thompson. And Tess Thompson author is different from Karen McQuestion author. And, that's the great thing about books, is how everyone can get to a happily ever after a different way. But at the same time, it's important to note that the way that people get there, both within their own writing and within their career, is going to be different across the board. I think a great example is TikTok, when Colleen Hoover blew up, and then all of a sudden everyone was like, I'm posting TikToks, why am I not getting Colleen Hoover views, for instance? And it's maybe that's not where your genre is right now. I have my very important minor in psychology along with my journalism degree, and we kind of sit down during our discovery call and try to figure out what makes you different from, Jane Doe author, not necessarily what makes you better, but what makes you different. Why are your readers going to you? And then we kind of dig down from there, and exploring that type of psychology with your marketing team is helpful in that it's important to give that information to your team so they can get inside your head, and then it helps build that trust in that relationship, because you obviously hired them for a reason. So once they get to know you and your voice, I think that's pretty golden.
What have you found the most challenging aspect about the book industry?
To be honest, I think the most challenging aspect we've come across is the same that we see really in any business or niche. It's justifying our value. And in regards to marketing, and in particular in social media marketing, there's typically nothing immediate or tangible that you can hold on to. So you spend your money and you don't know if you're seeing an ROI right away. And it's hard for anyone to hand that money over, especially for something that they think that they can do, on their own, for instance, like posting on social media. But our clients know that we don't just post on social media. We're not slapping together graphics and copy. We put in hours of research and analysis to determine, first of all, where you should be posting, what platforms are working for you and your current audience, and where you could find that growth. And every piece of copy we put out there on behalf of you means something. So if you're just posting without a strategy, you're just wasting your own time. So I would say, just developing those relationships with our clients, I think, as both of you know and are so gracious with, is we come to you and say, this is what we're doing for this. And you're like, yes, okay. And then you continue writing whatever manuscript you're working on. And that's just like the chef's kiss ideal client agency relationship.
Well, I will say, since you guys have taken over my social media, it's been such a relief, because I'm like, I know things are getting posted. I know they're getting responses, and I don't have to worry about it. And I know for sure that things pick up because there are posts and there are, comments and everything. And so it's just like the algorithms are rewarding us for that. So I have found it to be extremely valuable for what it's worth to anybody listening, thinking about whether or not they need somebody like Heather.
Oh, I appreciate that. And I think too, is when you get to a certain level, which is what we've seen with all of our authors, it's like you can take that time, those 2 or 3 hours, whatever, and try to figure out social and slap stuff together, or you can write. And I think a lot of authors get to a point where they're like, oh, I'm not just writing stories, this is my business. And what does every business have? They have this department, they have this department, so I can focus on what I'm good at. And, that's where we come in.
I also wanted to address the issue of value because I was doing my own newsletters for years and I hated doing it so much and I did them so badly. And then I sensed that it wasn't visually as appealing as other newsletters. I didn't have the right components, the right graphics, the right fonts, whatever. And I would spend so much time dreading doing it. And then the actual doing of it would take several hours. Basically, it'd be one less day that I could be writing. And so when I pay your team, and on top of that marketing, I'm not just paying you for the 4 or 5 hours it would have taken me to do it. It's for all that other time plus your expertise. And I'm really delighted that you agreed to do it because I know you've got some bigger clients that you do more work for, but you do also do these smaller projects, right?
Yep, we'll do a lot of one-offs, or like you said, like you don't, for instance, Karen, send out newsletters monthly, but maybe quarterly. So we're happy to work with authors based on really their goals. And your goal with that was, I know I need to send email. I can't do it anymore. It's driving me crazy. And I think exactly, it's that time. I think adults in general get to that point where it's like, it's the value, the cost analysis, where it's like, I don't want to mow my own lawn, but I'll pay the neighbor kid $30 to do it. That's worth, me not having to be outside for 2 hours on the weekend, and $30 to a teenager is a lot of money. So it's like, you figure out where you value your time and where you can best dedicate it.
What innovative ways are there for authors to reach new readers? What have you found? So
when we work with an author, our goal is never just for a reader to pick up your book, read the story, and then put it down and move on with their life. As readers, we all have books or authors that kind of have like wrecked us emotionally, that if you see a post or a TikTok where it's like, oh, these 5 books made me cry, and you see one of them, you're like, yes, that. And I know, for instance, Taylor Jenkins Reid is someone I just absolutely adore, and I've never once put down one of her novels without, crying, because she becomes so immersed in the characters and the setting and their story. And that's what we want for your readers, for all of our clients. We want readers not just to see the words on the page, but to experience that whole journey. We want to create the immersive experience, which is a totally natural state for a reader to kind of slip into. So we want to help them get there without any other distractions. We want to take your carefully crafted story out of that abstract space. And by doing that, people just want to keep reading what you're writing. We've created Spotify playlists that maybe your main character will listen to on a road trip. We create a lot of first-person point of view videos where we're acting as if we're the character and we're speaking to the audience. And I think doing that, like I said, is immersive in that they kind of develop a relationship not only with you, but with, for instance, your series, in which a lot of our authors really do work within a series. And so it's really important to kind of hook them, because you want them to keep caring about what's happening in the future. I certainly wouldn't call it innovative, but something that we're seeing a lot of success with is crafting giveaways. And I know, a lot of authors give away free ebooks, or, slap up one of those posts where it's comment below to win. And that's definitely not what we've been doing. We will work hard to find authors who complement each other, but maybe they have readers who would probably overlap, but maybe they haven't found that other author yet. Example is, Tess, we recently did a giveaway with Allison Pataki, who's a New York Times bestselling author who writes historical fiction. And, you have your historical fiction series. It made sense to me that those readers would gravitate to each other. It was super successful. We're crafting a giveaway now with 3 authors that each have releases set in different parts of the world. So along with copies of their books, they're all pitching in to give like a $100 Airbnb gift card, because we thought, how can we tie all of these totally different things together and, again, give somebody, that whole experience. So take your book and go travel, go away for the night. And another giveaway we recently did that I love too, which is a great example of how broad you can go across the board. I think people sometimes don't want to stray outside of their genre, which when you pause to think about it is kind of silly, because how many people just read, very one narrow type of book. We did one with Rochelle Weinstein, Lisa Barr, Sam Bailey, and Meredith Shore. And the four of them right across genres, but they're really good friends in real life. So the way we kind of connected all of it was we called it their book bestie giveaway. So we posted pictures of all of them together, and they each gave 2 copies of their book and a $200 spa gift card. So the way we were able to tile that was, win one for you, win one for your girlfriend or your sister or whatever. And that worked really well. It's crafting the relationships and making sure things feel organic, not just slapped together.
So the goal with that is that each author would then be introduced to the other authors' readers and would have some crossover visibility.
Absolutely. Yep. And it's fun too, I think, as both a reader and as the marketer in charge of putting it together. The giveaways are some of my favorite things because you get to be a little bit more creative like that. And the authors are just always so grateful for it and for each other and for the relationships we're helping to craft. They'll get, we've had thousands of new email addresses over the summer. That one I was just talking about with the Bestie Book giveaway, they added hundreds of new email addresses to each of their database. They each got a few hundred new followers on Instagram. And then depending on whether or not they wanted to promote their Amazon page or their Goodreads page. And the thing with the reader giveaways is that those are not like spammy email addresses. We make sure that people really opt in. We have all of the correct terms and conditions. So you're getting real readers who are interested in what you're offering, and you're getting, like you said, that visibility across the board now.
So just to clarify, for if people aren't familiar with this, in order to enter the giveaway, they sign up and there are requirements like which follow the author on Instagram or
right, yep.
whatever. And that's one of the values of it for
sure, yeah.
For the authors. Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I think the way that we do it too, which I find really interesting, which kind of solidifies that you're getting the right followers and the right email addresses, is that the only thing we ever require in a giveaway is for somebody to enter their email address. And then we'll have the quote unquote bonus entries where it's go follow Tess on Instagram, go follow Karen on Instagram. And we see like a direct correlation between, everyone who entered their email went through and then liked every single author's Instagram page. And that's not a requirement to win, but I know I personally try to keep my feed pretty cleaned up. I'm not following people I'm not interested in. I think a lot of people are kind of at that point with social media. So, they're going out of their way to follow you now. They're going out of their way to get Amazon alerts when you have a new release.
Well, tell us a little bit about your journey into entrepreneurship. What made you decide to open your own company? And do you think it's harder for a woman entrepreneur than a man?
Well, so I am recently divorced and I have an 8-year-old daughter, Amelia. And when Amelia was a toddler, I worked at the beauty brand that Karen mentioned in the beginning of the interview there. And I loved that job. I loved their products. I believed in them. I loved the events we put on. I loved the sales we did. And they were one of those companies that really preached that everyone was family. So I'm putting in like 50 or 60-hour weeks while my kid is a baby and a toddler. And in particular, it was like fourth quarter because it's retail. So people are, shopping for holidays. So I just gave them so much time in this fast growing company. And then there was a merger. And when the merger happened, they basically let go anyone who helped them get to that point. Because, when it comes down to it, everyone is an employee. Nobody really has a stake in it except for the owners. And after that, I kind of came to the decision that I would just never, ever give all of myself like that to someone else, be it a relationship or professionally, knowing that someone could just kind of like rip that away and leave you devastated and wondering what the heck you're going to do. So the second part of your question, I guess, is that I am definitely a firm believer that everything is harder for a woman. And I know that I do come in a privileged place in saying that, but I've been super fortunate to have strong, successful women in my life as clients and friends who believe in raising other women up. I've never had, all of our clients are currently women, which is interesting. The 2 times I pitched to a man were the only 2 pitches that we ever lost. So I kind of always keep that in the back of my head. But our authors, if I say, I've never had someone say to me, oh, I don't want to work with her, or, she's below me, or I don't want to shoot for that. Everyone is just so gracious in helping each other build up their community, be it if it's the finance industry, if it's health and wellness, and especially the author community. Once you get inside of it, as the two of you know, it's really so small. And we've never had someone say, I don't want to do that for her. I don't want to help her. Everyone is just very supportive.
I found that to be true too in the author community. You can reach out to someone and say, I noticed you did such and such. How did you go about that? And I've never had anyone say, mind your own business.
For sure. Yeah, exactly. Or like, I'm not going to share this strategy with you. There's so many, as the two of you know, but maybe other readers or listeners don't, is that there's just so many professional groups on LinkedIn and on Facebook and on Clubhouse where authors are saying, I did this on TikTok and it worked for me. Let me break down every single step. Or I sent this email campaign out and then I segmented it this way. Let me show you exactly how I did that. And it's because those authors get it, that nobody, as we kind of touched on earlier, nobody's just reading one author. Nobody's just reading one genre. And it only helps to build up readership for everybody.
Now, you mentioned TikTok, that was all everyone was talking about for a little while, was because, as you pointed out, Colleen Hoover just took off on that.
For sure.
So can you share a little bit about what your partner, Sarah, is doing in terms of TikTok for your author clients?
So kind of circling back to why I started my own business, as a mother, it was super important to me that I had that flexibility when it came to my daughter, her school activities or appointments. And full disclosure, Sarah is my little baby sister. And
I wasn't sure if you wanted that known. I was like, did I say your sister?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. So
Okay.
It's always funny because I'm always like, do I tell people that, or does it feel like we're being unprofessional? I don't know. But Sarah's amazing at what she does. And she has a degree in journalism, and she had her first baby during COVID. So she got a very extended maternity leave by accident and was able to spend, all of this time with him. And when I got to a point in my business that I needed help, I would go to her constantly. She's a younger millennial, where I always say she's like in a real sweet spot because she's old enough to have years under her belt in what she's doing and to be professional and to have that experience. But at the same time, she's still, in my head anyways, a kid who lives on TikTok. And it's like, now she can take that and kind of utilize it. So like I said, she has all of that experience. She's great at grabbing trends weeks before they come up. And one of my favorite things that I was so proud of her for was, I know, Karen, you love Stranger Things. Tess, do you watch that?
I do not. It's too scary.
Well, in the last season, I'm sure you heard, was, released, the latest season in June. And there was that Kate Bush song, Running Up That Hill. That was it was throughout that whole season. And Sarah heard it in the first time they played in the first episode. Instantly, she told her husband and then texted me. She's like, oh, we have to use that. I feel like it's going to trend. And I was like, why would you ever even say that? It's just, a song. And she's like, I don't know. Stranger Things is this huge cult phenomenon. And that scene, the first scene where they played that song, was so important. And then it carried through. She's like, we need to get on this. So she just started creating all of these reels and all of these TikToks using that like hours after she watched it. And because of that, we caught that trend way before a lot of people. And now we have reels and TikToks with thousands of views, 30,000 views. Tess, you have one I checked before we started talking, and it has 128,000 views, which I didn't even know it was that high. And it was because she grabs things before anybody else does. And I appreciate that because I don't always have the patience to kind of dig through there. I don't think I always have the eye to say, yeah, this feels right. And she definitely does that.
Yeah, I agree about, it's a generational thing. It actually is significant because like I'm, 53, I guess. I'm always like, I can't possibly be 53, but yeah, I'm 53. And I don't know as much about kind of the trends and everything as like my daughters do. And I feel like that's what you and Sarah really do well, is like you've been able to bridge kind of the gap for me between, hoping to find younger readers, as my reader base is older, but, I obviously would like to find some younger ones too. And I think that's been one of the most valuable things. And when I tell people about you guys, I'm always like, well, and they're young.
Thank you. On my birthday in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be 37. And I'm like, wow, that's 40. And that's basically like halfway dead. I'm like, I'm done. So you saying that we're young makes me feel much better.
Yeah, but whenever I say that to women who are like Karen and my age, they know exactly what I mean.
Exactly.
Like, it's like these ladies know what's going on. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And a statistic, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure if you pause to think about it, you would guess something similar. But marketers have done stats on scrolling, and when someone's just flying through their social feed, they give you at most 3 seconds. It's like 1.5 to 3 seconds, which feels, that's nothing, to decide whether or not they're interested in your content. And Sarah is an expert at making those seconds count and grabbing those readers.
Yeah. And I have to say, kind of back to the earlier discussion about, as business people, we have to decide, well, what's the most valuable use of my time? And for me, it's writing. And not trying to learn TikTok.
Right.
I went on there, I took a class. I'm just like, you know what? This is not, yeah. And in the class, they were like, yeah, you spend one day a week doing it. I was thinking 1 day a week, that's like 5,000 words.
Exactly.
So I think that's something, authors should think about when considering hiring a firm like you guys, or, somebody to do their TikTok. Like, is it something that they would like to do, that they would have fun doing, that they feel like they would be good at, or would it be better to hire it out? And I came to the conclusion quickly that it would be better to hire it out.
And I think that's, that and kind of combining that with what Karen said earlier about just absolutely dreading doing her newsletters. We have clients who are like, I love doing my newsletter. I love typing out that little letter to everybody. I love showing them what books are on my book stand. I don't think I need help with that, but I definitely need TikTok. And then we have other authors who are like, you know what? I like doing TikTok at lunch. It breaks up my day, but I cannot deal with doing emails. I can't deal with doing my Facebook ads. I can't deal with doing, my flat lays and my pre-order stuff. So it's back to kind of how we customize each plan for each author, but also, as you said, where are you valuing your time? What do you get joy out of? I think is very important. And as I'm getting older, is definitely something that I try to Marie Kondo, I guess, all of my stuff, where I'm like, does this spark joy in me? And, scrolling TikTok does not always spark joy in me, but Sarah can scroll TikTok for hours. So we're like, okay, this is how we're dividing up the business.
I love it. So what other trends do you see in social media that you think are important for authors to know?
Yeah, I think an important thing to keep in mind when you are seeing trends or looking to kind of catch something on the way up is to stay on brand, which again circles back. But if you're going to hop on a trend, you need to make it your own. And a great example that we have is late last year or early this year, there was this challenge. TikTok always has quote unquote challenges where you're doing the dance challenge or whatever. And there was it was called the silhouette challenge. And it would start with someone just like in their pajamas or in their sweatpants, just kind of not done up, standing in a doorway, and the Paul Anka song, Put Your Head on My Shoulder, would start playing. And then it quickly transitions into like a very slow kind of sexy song with the red lighting and the filter. And all of a sudden that person who is just in sweatpants has like all of these curves and your silhouette outlined. And it's like very seductive and provocative. But if you're writing sweet romance to, a conservative crowd of 60-plus-year-old women, that might not play out great, but that doesn't mean you can't do it. You can definitely still do it. And we did. We had a lot of sweet romance authors who were able to do that. And we would do it where they're sitting on the couch in their sweatpants, the song would play. But then when it transitioned, they would just laugh and shake their head and be like, no thanks. Or they would be like, yes. And they would you would see their computer screen. They would be typing out, a scene for a character. So you're able to still get those sounds and those hashtags, but you need to make them your own. You can't copy everybody else because then nobody's going to see it. It's going to be the same thing over and over again.
So what do you think is the most important thing an author can do to get eyes on their books?
I really love that question. And I was thinking about this, and I think really, which I don't know if this makes me a bad business person. I always tell everybody I'm a horrible business person because I'm like, I know what our scope of work was, but you need this trend right now. So let's just add this to your TikTok or whatever. But something that's out of our hands that we cannot help you with is your title and your cover. You know, we do have, like, with Tess, we're really full hands-on marketing, and she definitely runs all of that stuff by us all the time. And she'll be like, does this make sense? Will this make sense if we're emailing it? Will this, are there 50 other books where if we hashtag this on Instagram, mine's going to get lost in the crowd? But I think people definitely do judge a book by its cover. And I was just saying that I don't really know where that saying even originated, because if you're not hooking somebody right away, they're not even going to read your synopsis. They're certainly not going to your Instagram page. That is super important. And then when it comes to us, I think really it's just all about exposure. It's the consistency in posting. It kind of goes back to the ROI in the beginning, where it's like, what am I getting tangible from this? But when you post consistently, you start trending organically. People start to expect things from you. And that's what it is. It's building your brand. So taking advantage of that exposure, that nonstop exposure, by finding ARC readers, by finding bookstagrammers, you know, because if you write a great book, other people will market that book for you, but nobody's going to find it, any great book, if it's just sitting on your desk or, you know, lost in the hundreds of thousands of Kindle books on Amazon.
Yeah, I saw a post by Colleen Hoover who said when she first blew up on TikTok, it wasn't that a post that she had done. It was that her readers had been very enthusiastically endorsing her and suggesting her books. So you're right. It's, you know, you can start something off, but the word of mouth is just incredibly valuable.
Exactly. I totally agree. You build that by that consistency, I think, for bookstagrammers. You know, we have a lot of great, strong relationships now, but I didn't just, you know, email somebody. I followed their page, a bookstagrammer's page, and I would comment on the books that they're posting. And then you develop that relationship the same way that you consistently posting or sending out emails or whatever form of marketing is best for your clients, build that reader relationship with them.
What is your favorite type of book or genre to read?
So right now I am reading we're reading a lot of Junie B. Jones, we're reading a lot of Babysitter's Club. So I've got that going on. And if I can manage to stay up later than that, I'd say probably contemporary women's fiction, but I definitely go through phases. So I feel like the last few books I've been in, based on really clients, has been that. But I'll read everything from sweet romance to domestic suspense. I really love, which is funny for anyone who knows me, because I'm really not a sci-fi type of girl. Like I've never seen Star Wars or Star Trek, but give me a good time travel book with alternating timelines or flashing back years, and I'll read every single one you write. If, you know, I love an alternate point of view. I just read Emma Straub's This Time Tomorrow was a really great kind of time travel book. So I definitely look for those.
This is a question I have to say, Tess wrote it. If you could have any client in the world, whom would it be?
I love that you pointed that out as if it was this is Tess's contribution to.
Oh, no. She does. I think she did so many questions, but I'm not trying to put you on the spot. Tess really wants to know.
Who was I just? Oh.
It might have been Karen McQuestion, but now you're a client, so you got to choose somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, and Tess knows I worked Karen for a long time, but she, and Karen, I think I just said this to you the other day, and you were laughing about it. Was how my daughter and I are huge Swifties. Like we play every single album all day long, every single day. So I was like, oh, what if you worked for Taylor Swift? And my daughter is super involved in my business. For some reason, she's a reader herself. So she's always like, who are you working on, Mommy? What type of books do they write? And so I was like, well, what if we got Taylor Swift? And then she just turned out to be a real jerk. That would really ruin all of that for me. You couldn't keep doing that. So I would have said Taylor. I think in regards to authors, as I said, Taylor Jenkins Reid, I adore her. Matt Haig, if you told me he wrote the phone book, I'd be like, yes, give me the phone book. I will read that, because he just put so much of himself and his emotions into that. And it's that immersive experience where you know those characters and you're rooting for them the whole time.
Are you seeing any book trends as far as genre that are hot right now, or subgenre?
Yeah, for sure. We definitely are. I think when we're talking about finding your audience, finding what platform your audience is on, right now we are seeing that we can post the same thing on TikTok and on Instagram for a sweet romance author. And on TikTok, they might get 200 views. On Instagram, they're getting 30,000 views, because that's where their fan base is. And of course, you're always trying to look for younger, as you said, Tess, younger audience, but we're still getting that broad reach over there, where if we have, an author who writes kind of something steamy, or we have fantasy, those just blow up on TikTok. But on Instagram, we don't see the same type of views. We don't see that same interaction. And I think finding where your audience is that hot thing, and knowing and not getting disappointed in yourself. Where when we first started noticing this, I was just driving myself crazy, because I was like, why are we not getting these views on TikTok? Why does this reel on Instagram have 50,000 views and 120 comments, and on TikTok it has 19 views? And it was, a while for me to be like, okay, well, that's where we're seeing the success. There's no reason to be upset that we're not finding it somewhere else. You have to try everything, and then you kind of start narrowing it down.
Well, okay, well, it's time for our fun extra questions.
Fun extra questions. They're like a BuzzFeed quiz.
Exactly. What is one food that will never get past your lips?
I would say something I always want to like that I don't like is hot dogs. I feel like when you go to a baseball game or you're at a barbecue, you're like, yes, I'm going to eat a hot dog. And then I go to do it, and I'm like, nope, can't do it. Too much, can't do it.
That's funny. Who would you want to play you in a movie?
I would definitely choose Mandy Moore. And I loved her back in her teen pop days when she was being overshadowed by Britney and Christina. And then, a few years ago, I saw that she got this role on this new little show called This Is Us, This Is Us. And I was like, oh my goodness, I feel like I have this personal relationship with her. I'm like, Mandy Moore's got a new show. And then, she blew up, and she's getting all the accolades that she deserves.
Yeah, I love her, and I love that. I love that show.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
My favorite. What superpower would you pick given the opportunity?
If we're looking at standard superpowers, I would love to teleport. It would save a lot of time. But if I could actually pause time for everyone except for me, I would love to do that. So everyone else is paused, but I can get, an hour of pleasure reading in, or watch an episode of This Is Us, actually finish the series that's been done for months now, and then just turn everybody else back on.
That's a good one. I've never heard that one before. That's good. What's your biggest guilty pleasure?
This one is something that Sarah makes fun of me for all the time, and it is watching The Bachelorette. It is. I never go on Twitter. She always says, except for when I'm watching Bachelorette. She's like, that's all your Twitter feed is. There'll be like random political posts, and then it's 20 posts about The Bachelorette. So that's for sure my guilty pleasure.
Oh, and once you start on one of those types of shows, you get hooked on it really fast.
That's the exact thing. And I did it during COVID, because, I went through everything on Netflix, everything everywhere. And they had this like 10 episodes. Let's recap every single season. I was like, fine, I'll watch it. And then the new season came out in fall, and then you're waiting to see who from that season goes next. And you're done. You can't stop.
What is the worst job you've ever had?
This I actually forgot about until I was like, what is the worst job I ever had? When I was like 18 or 19, I worked evenings at a collections agency. It was just this really small collections agency, and I worked 6 to 9 p.m. And it was horrendous. I have no idea how I got that job. I can't remember why I took that job. I can't remember it. I know I only worked there a few months, but I do remember being the only one who worked during that time shift. I was the only one in the office, but then I would feel so crappy about calling people during dinner to be like, oh, you have this doctor's bill or whatever. So I ended up just reading. I remember I used to read a lot of soap opera digest. I'd be like, let me go through all of my stories tonight and see where everybody is in, General Hospital. But that was bad. I'm definitely an introvert, so calling people and begging them to pay bills was not.
Oh,
yeah, it was bad.
That would be terrible. Yeah. If you could instantly become an expert in something, what would it be?
That is a tough one. I would say maybe in figuring out how to get my kid to do the thing I'm asking her to do, like the first time around would be good. Like, I don't know if that counts as being an expert. Maybe it goes back to the superpowers of figuring out how elementary school children work. But I'll say that. I'll say like super momming.
Yeah, that's a good one. What's your favorite smell?
I love citrus. So I would say like lemon, anything lemon. Lemon verbena is just my absolute favorite.
What is the most terrifying thing you've ever done?
So on my honeymoon with my now ex-husband, he was adamant that we were going to go ziplining. And I was like, I don't really have a fear of heights, but I was like, I don't think I want to do that. And we were in maybe Belize. So I was like, okay, it's our honeymoon. I'll do this for him. And, they drove us up in this rickety old white van that looks like something where somebody would open it and be like, free candy. We drive up to the top of this mountain and nobody's speaking English. It's all men. They like hook me up and they're like, monkeys and birds may jump on you while you're doing this, just ignore them. And I'm like, what? And like, they just push you. Like, so you start ziplining and it was petrifying. There were like parrots flying around and I cried my entire way down. I kept telling them I wanted to stop and they're like, well, too bad, because you're not in America. There are not stairs. There are like emergency exits here. So you gotta just keep going. I will never, ever go ziplining again. It was petrifying.
I hate it too.
Have you done it?
Yeah, twice now, from pressure from the kids and Cliff and stuff. But yeah, if I never have to do it again, I'll be perfectly happy. Yeah. And there weren't monkeys where I was, so that would be worse.
You think that would make it more exciting? It didn't. It was like, no. I could not be where a parrot is right now.
What is one thing you're really bad at?
I have a absolutely horrendous sense of direction, and I will literally get lost while my GPS is telling me where to go. And I don't know how I do that, but I do. It's not an exaggeration. I need her, because if I didn't have her, then good luck getting me anywhere.
If you could live your life over again, would you want to?
This is one of those things where, people, I like to do a thing that I call the evil genie, where it's like, if you get a wish, you need to make sure you word it the exact right way so no evil genie can come and be like, this is actually what you wanted. So I'm like, you never want to redo your life, because then you wouldn't be where you are, and I wouldn't have my daughter, who is a pretty cool kid, I have to say. But Sarah and I had a pretty rough childhood, and I had to pave, I'm the oldest. We have a brother who's younger than Sarah, and I had to pave that road that all three of us went down, the road to figuring out college, to getting married, to buying a house. That was all me. And I just do not think I would want to do that again. But I would definitely, if I had the opportunity, go back and tell, my younger self to trust in her instinct and be more assertive. Don't, let anyone, especially men, kind of convince you otherwise, that you're not right or what you're doing is wrong. I think that it's hard to know whether or not you're making good decisions if you don't really have any guidance. So it's important just to kind of go with your gut. Like I said, though, I'm love my kid. I know everyone loves their kid, but Tess, my daughter's obsessed with Tess. She goes to school, and no one really knows like how this came about. I don't think Tess has ever even spoken to her. But Tess mailed her a journal like 2 years ago or something, and she went to school with it. She's like, this is for my friend, best-selling author Tess Thompson. She's telling her, second grade class this. Because she's a little quirky, that one, but she definitely has, I know, I'm like thinking about it. She just tells people all the time, and your name is best-selling author Tess Thompson. Like how she says it to everybody. But, she has more emotional intelligence than most adults. And I think that I'm so proud of the fact that not only am I able to support her, and we have a beautiful home that in a great school district. I think something women don't do is not brag, but be proud of stuff they have. You're taught to kind of always diminish stuff. And I'm like, nope, I bought this house on my own, and it is very expensive. And I sent her to a very good school, and I'm so proud of that. And I'm able proud that I'm also able to kind of support my sister and my nephew. And I think if you were able to go back in time, again, it's funny because we touched on this theme earlier, was that I'd let myself know other women are not your competition. I think when you're 19, 20, 21, 22, you're constantly like, who do I have to one up? Who do I have to be prettier than? How can I do this thing? And then you grow up and you build relationships and you realize that helping other women only helps you. There's nothing bad that could ever happen when you support someone else or tell someone else, hey, I love your shoes, I love your hair, because think of how great that makes you feel throughout the day and throughout your life. So that would definitely be, if I went back in time, I would say, trust yourself and be kind.
What a great way to end the podcast. Trust yourself and be kind.
Aww,
I love it.
Yes. Words to live by. Thank you for doing this. I wish you all the success. And I just know these next couple of years, your business is going to explode. You're going to be hiring all kinds of people and doing all these amazing things. So, and I'm excited to get to be part of it. So.
Thank you so much. No, I appreciate both of you. And thank you for having me.
Take care, Heather.
You too. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Behind the Book, brought to you by authors Tess Thompson and Karen McQuestion. They hope you found it entertaining and informative. If you loved it, tell your friends. And if you have a moment, they'd love for you to post a star rating or review. This has been Behind the Book.